We're about to jump into the FDA's latest inspection data, but let's be really clear about what this is. This isn't just a list of citations. Think of it as a strategic roadmap. It shows you exactly where the agency is pointing its flashlight for 2025. And for anyone in a leadership position, this is your playbook for staying ahead of the game and, protecting your operations.
So let's just start with the most important question on the table. Looking ahead to 2025, where is your single biggest compliance risk? By the time we're done here, the data is going to give you a startlingly clear answer and show you precisely where you need to direct your attention and, of course, your budget.
All right, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll hit the top 3 citations. This shows us the FDA's main focus. Then we'll see how that scrutiny is getting wider. We'll also pinpoint a few key high-stakes areas to watch, and we'll wrap it all up with your big strategic takeaway for 2025. So let's dive in. When you look at the data, a powerful theme just jumps right out. The most common problems aren't some obscure technical slip-ups. Nope. They all point right back to a fundamental lack of quality oversight. The FDA is sending a message here, and it is crystal clear. So let's start with a number. 243. This was the #1 most frequent citation handed out by the FDA. But what on earth does it represent? That number? It represents a failure at the most basic foundational level of compliance, not having written procedures for your quality control unit. Or, and this is even more common, having them on a shelf somewhere but not actually following them. This really gets to the heart of it, right here under 211 CFR 211.22d. See, the FDA is flagging a 2-part problem. It's not nearly enough to just write the manual. The agency wants to see hard proof that your quality control unit lives and breathes these procedures every single day. This is ground zero for compliance failure. Okay, now let's look at the second highest issue, which got 164 citations. This is all about what happens when things go wrong. If a batch fails or you have some unexplained discrepancy, is there a robust, documented investigation? A failure here tells the FDA that when your procedures fail, your response and review process is failing right along with them. And rounding out our top 3 with a very close 162 citations is the failure to have good written procedures for production and process control. So think about it like this. If that first citation is about the who, the quality unit, this one is all about the how, the actual nuts and bolts production process. The FDA is telling us over and over again, solid documentation is the absolute bedrock of quality. Now, once you get past those top 3, the FDA's lens starts to widen. The focus expands from just the quality unit's oversight to the real integrity of the systems underneath it all. We're talking your labs, your equipment, and your data systems. What's really interesting is the story this data tells when you look at it together. We go from lab controls not being scientifically sound to a whole cluster of issues around equipment, things like cleaning schedules and even basic design. And hey, pay attention to number 6, lacking control over computer systems. The FDA isn't just checking binders on a shelf anymore. They're scrutinizing the entire operational ecosystem. Okay, let's zoom in now on 2 specific areas where the stakes are just incredibly high. These are the places where a single slip-up can have immediate and, frankly, severe consequences. This is where the FDA is really concentrating its enforcement power. First up, sterile drugs. 68 citations for failing to prevent microbiological contamination. That is a massive red flag. This isn't just about a procedure, right? This is a direct threat to patient safety. The agency is showing absolutely zero tolerance for any weakness in sterile manufacturing. And second, testing and release. The FDA handed out 44 citations for not doing the right lab tests before a product walks out the door. This is the final gatekeeper of quality. Any failure here means you could be letting non-conforming products reach the market. That's a risk no company can afford to take. So, what does this all mean for you? How do you take all these numbers and translate them into a compliance strategy that actually works? Let's distill everything we've seen into a clear, actionable roadmap for 2025. Here is your strategic map for 2025. Number 1, fortify your quality control unit. Give them the authority and the resources they need to do their job. 2, standardize and, this is key, enforce your written procedures. In the eyes of an auditor, if it wasn't written down and followed, it never happened. 3, scrutinize your lab and equipment controls, everything from test methods to your computer systems. And 4, make sterile manufacturing oversight an absolute non-negotiable priority. This area demands relentless vigilance. And that really brings us to the final critical thought. The data doesn't lie. The FDA's focus is squarely on the fundamental systems of quality control. So the ultimate question to take back to your teams, to your board, is this. Is your quality unit truly empowered and prepared for this level of scrutiny? Because in 2025, that's exactly where the spotlight is going to be.